Hey everyone, I'm back, and with something a little different this time. I've talked about this guy a few times in my nice guy videos and whatnot, called him basically the king of the nice guys. He probably won't disappoint in that regard. Well, let's just get into it with Russell Greer's book, Why I Sued Taylor Swift. The full title is Why I Sued Taylor Swift and How I Became Falsely Known as Frivolous, Litigious, and Crazy. Allow me to start by reading the description by the author. Updated 3/19/2021, so 1 month ago. Since Amazon does not allow me to respond to the review or to even delete the reviews, I can only make suggestions by flagging bad reviews. I have to say that the majority of these reviews are from horrible people from a hate site. I'm actually in a lawsuit with them for trying to ruin my life. Maybe my next book will be entitled Why I Sued a Bunch of Internet Weirdos. These people have caused 3 people to kill themselves. It's caused me to feel low at times. I'm a human being. I have feelings. I wrote this book because the incident hurt me very much. Yeah, maybe the book could have been written better, but in 2017, when I wrote this book, it was the best I could do. Oh, I guess it's okay that your book sucks then. With that established of who is leaving the reviews, let's set a few things straight. 1. People screenshot old posts I made like 5 years ago on my social media. I said a few things for shock value. I was trying to be a shock jock. Also, the events with Taylor really hurt me, and I guess it set a few screws loose for a while. I had to go to counseling, and I'm a much more mature and stable person. I cringe and have renounced and apologized for past things that I have said and done. 2. All of my relationships with women have been consensual. I have never been accused of anything in a legal setting. Only by a trial of trolls in the internet have I been unfairly judged, hence why I'm making these statements right here on my book page. I champion women's rights and I adore women. I have many female friends. 3. Lastly, I once again apologize for what I said in the past. Believe it or not, people can change. It's unfair that I'm dealing with all this bullcrap. I suggest all you trolls get a hobby and a life. I'm sorry that you're so angry with me for writing about a true experience. As for the idiots trying to ruin my reputation with false lies about me, how about this? Let's go to court. I've tried moving away from the lawsuit thing, but if you get kicks leaving fake reviews about people, back it up in court. You can pay me for damages and I will use your money to take a nice vacation. I've been too passive and have tried ignoring the hate. I didn't realize this would continue to follow me around 4 years later. Disclaimer, due to the controversial nature of the book, people will probably leave and have left hateful, ugly, fake reviews without even reading the book. And if they have read the book, they only bought it to read and mock me. I am a victim of an organized syndicate of harassment. Ironically, the same people who are leaving bad reviews are featured in this book. Their hateful reviews do not define the quality of the book or of the author. Please do not let their hate stop you from reading this incredible true story. Why I Sued Taylor Swift tells the heartwarming story of a disabled man and his celebrity crush, Taylor Swift. After working on a musical gift for her, Taylor and this man collaborated on music, produced Taylor's highest-selling song, and then they lived happily ever after. Or so it should have been. No, this story tells the inspiring true tale of a disabled songwriter who dreams of writing music for Taylor Swift, only to get stonewalled by her agents. Trying all available options, he soon decides to sue Taylor under the doctrine of vicarious liability in a desperate attempt to bring her attention to the unfair situation. Little does this man know that his entire world is about to be turned upside down. Read my book about why I sued Taylor Swift and how I became falsely known as frivolous, litigious, and crazy. It's bound to inspire some. And it probably will make others cry or upset. Yes, content warning, this might make you cry or upset. No way it inspires anyone, though. So, according to Popular Story, Russell wrote a hit list on the wall of his high school bathroom, mostly of girls who had rejected him, and he was arrested for this. When he was in juvenile detention, Taylor Swift came on the radio, and suddenly he had a new purpose: wooing Taylor Swift. Okay, before we go any further, let me explain a few things. Russell will talk about being disabled every few seconds. He is disabled, but it's not mentally, so I'm not here making fun of a guy's book because he has a learning disability or something. Russell has Mobius syndrome, a rare condition that affects the muscles in his face. I think it makes it hard to make expressions or maybe be understood when he's talking, but it has no effect on his ability to write a book, and it's not what I'm here to talk about anyway. He just brings it up a lot. I think before we look into the book anymore, we should read a few reviews, since he spent so much time complaining about them. A heartwarming review of a terrible book and worse author. This book is pure and poor fiction. Though I will say, as summary of the book, a heartwarming story is true, though not in the way he expects it to be. From his point of view, I'm not sure how he can possibly see it as a heartwarming story. It is not uplifting at all. The protagonist never wins, he just loses time after time. Precisely why the reader will never find it heartwarming, in that the author and protagonist of the book is an awful person and it is so much fun to see him lose constantly. First, back in high school, the author describes how he wrote a threat in the school bathroom, yet somehow whines it was unfair he had to spend a night in jail for it, even though somehow he got off on no charges. The author treats women as property. He paid a sex worker for sex, spent the entire time doing things other than sleep with her, and got angry she wouldn't give him free time after. Even after he himself describes her as not wanting to sleep with him, he doesn't care. He even publishes her real name because she's an object to him. He sues her, and heartwarmingly she wins a restraining order against him. Even the dedication of the book proves just how awful the author is. He dedicates it to a poor girl who he claims that people who harass him harassed her until she killed herself. And yet, as I found out, there are screenshots showing the author demeaning and bullying the very same girl. Even her friends and family said her death was not due to trolls harassing her and wished not to leave her name in the book. Russell ignored their wishes. He cares for no one but himself. He claims people harass and stalk him, yet he does the very same to the family of Taylor Swift. He constantly tries to contact her family and sends them mail and items, even after he unsuccessfully sued her, yet somehow claims his stalking is just and doesn't count. Screenshots show him calling Taylor Swift's mother a fat pig who should have died of cancer because she didn't respond to his harassment, yet he claims he's been nothing but respectful. There is so much factually wrong with this book, such as claiming a friend of his was firebombed as a result of knowing Russell, which only takes a quick Google search to show is false. However, pointing out all the lies of this book would leave a review as long as the garbage it's written about. Besides this, the book is full of the author's attempt at humor. Yet every time he cracks what he thinks is a joke, he spends a paragraph pointing out the fact that he made a joke, making this read utter trash. In short, the author claims that if women only looked past his disability, they'd fall for him. Yet it only takes a little to show that under his disability is a selfish, entitled man who has no actual respect for women and only views them as things for him to do with what he pleases. I'd like to note that Russell's description was in the form of one gigantic paragraph. I forgot to mention it because I fixed it for my viewers, but it doesn't give me a lot of confidence in his book when he can't even write a description for it correctly. An atrocious piece of writing, disjointed and difficult to read. I only managed the free sample. However, I don't imagine it is any more readable after that. Not to mention the storyline is horrendous and does read as the ravings of a madman. The author's whole premise that he has to win Taylor over is frankly very, very creepy, as if someone should be forced to love you because you said so, and you have a disability. The book reeks of a person who does not view women as real people, only a trophy you can put on your shelf, or chain up in your basement more like. Save yourself a headache and don't even bother with the sample. Hey, here's a review from the UK. Thank you, Nina. This book was awful yet enjoyable in the same way that terrible reality TV is enjoyable. If you want a hint of how professional a writer Mr. Greer is, this self-published book employs 6 different fonts in the first few pages alone. Screenshots included as photos aren't cropped and many don't even fit the page so get cut off. And the title and author are at the top of every page. This is a Microsoft Word document printed out. As for the content, pathetic and laughable, and occasionally utterly fictional. The only reason to read this is to be amazed that someone would willingly publish this and think it made them look good/wronged/sensible. I'm sure he found writing it cathartic for a few minutes though. I'd like to point out that his writing reads like a BuzzFeed article. He doesn't use animated pictures because it's a book, but he will just show random pictures and refer to them. Case in point. Here, right at the beginning of his book, he references a picture of a swimmer and says your face may look like his. Yes, I do believe that hearing Russ's opinions on celebrities might be as jarring as swimming the English Channel, so maybe it is an appropriate comparison. Okay, we're going to read one more review and maybe start on the book a little. The author has an extremely difficult time accepting the reality that someone could read his book and not like it. This book is really bad. Disclaimer, I read the entire book from cover to cover. Because of the controversial nature of this review, the author will claim that I didn't read it and that I'm a hater and a troll. These false claims do not reflect on the quality of this review or its writer. The author has an extremely difficult time accepting the reality that someone could read his book and not like it. This book is really bad. The author is clearly mentally retarded and suffers from numerous delusions that make writing difficult for him. In some sense, it's impressive that he's even able to dress himself. Regardless, this book is clearly the manifesto of a crazy man who believes that somehow this incoherent screed vindicates his non-stop harassment of a famous pop star. The book is riddled with spelling and grammar errors as well as cringeworthy jokes that the author feels require excruciating explanation. If I had a paper copy, I likely would have burned it. As an example, when he is approaching Taylor Swift's castle in one of her delusions, he has this god-awful exchange with her. "Taylor, toss me your hair," I shouted majestically. "Huh?" she replied. "Nah, just joking," I teased as I was making a Rapunzel joke. I vomited in my mouth a little just transcribing that horrendous joke. It's very telling that even Taylor Swift didn't think his joke was funny in his own fantasy world. The jokes are just that staggeringly bad. The book does have some genuinely funny moments though, they're just not the ones the author intended. I laughed out loud when he described the scene where he was chewed out by the senior partner of his law firm and his lawsuit was derided as foolish and another partner called him a Looney Tune. Classic. I also really enjoyed the book's main hero, John Smith, based on real-life lawyer Greg Scortis, who heroically protects Taylor Swift from Russell's insane advances. When he triumphs over Russell in court after thoroughly humiliating him in front of the entire courtroom, I stood up from my seat and started cheering. Otherwise, this book is a waste of paper. The author should have been ashamed for writing it. 0 stars. Yes, he includes dream sequences and shit with Taylor Swift, all the time calling her by her first name like they're close. Well, I suppose I might be able to include a little of this today, but we're mostly out of time. I think I'm going to read the very first part of the prologue of his story, and then we'll continue in a few days. So there I lied, amidst the wreckage of my Cloud 9. Metaphoric glass covered me, and the flames fanned by the news media and the internet trolls surrounded me. After 2 years of giving all of my heart and all of my talent to impress Taylor Swift to have her help me, a disabled songwriter, in some way, I had been shafted by her agents and her. I had been left high and dry. All of my good intentions and efforts had been spat upon by them. He probably thinks using 2 semicolons in the same sentence makes him look smart. Ugh. It was like the whole thing was a reenactment from the music video for her song Bad Blood. Russ, you're supposed to put the punctuation inside the quotation marks. There's no way anyone proofread this. Instead of her crashing through the window, though, it was me who was falling backwards through the glass, the Cloud 9 that I rode upon sputtering out of my control, falling several stories down in slow motion, not believing what had happened. As my body was smashed and strewn across a car, so to speak, the shock set in. In my mind's eye, I could see her and her agents and her family laughing at me like wild hyenas as they sipped wine in fancy wine glasses, toasting to my defeat and my misery. Taylor Swift gave me a wicked smile with one side of her mouth, and then she turned away, leaving me surrounded by the flames. Well, there we go. That is the very beginning. Let me know what you think, but I will probably at least read this enough to make a few videos. Russell is pretty fun. But anyway, that's about all the time I have for you today. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you like the video, please leave a like. If you have something to say, make sure to let me hear it in the comments, especially on these videos about people. I might make a Lucas video entirely of my comments one of these days. If you're new here and like the video, consider subscribing for more of the same. I'd also like to thank my awesome patrons. I'll shout them out by name when I think the video will get better views, but they help out a lot. I will explain what I'm up to soon here. But I do have a 420 stream planned for tomorrow. So, have a great day, and try not to stalk any celebrities.